Hey there folks, I wanted to make just a very quick video about some of the GenCon releases that have come out. Now I think the 40K news is coming out Saturday, and they revealed a few of the board games yesterday. But I wanted to really hone in on a couple of the releases today because I thought that they were pretty interesting. So the first is the Aeronautica Imperialis. Obviously this is right in Jervis Johnson's wheelhouse. There's previous interviews on podcasts where he's talked about growing up and playing this type of dogfight combat. It's obviously reminiscent of World War II. These are models that you could buy through Forge World and obviously Games Workshop itself. And that's very much the aesthetic that they draw upon. And this isn't the first time that GW has created this type of game. A few years ago, they had like those dual flyer kits that you could buy, and they were pretty interesting. They're two regular size 40K models with some rules to kind of, fly against one another. And in the past, Forge World has had Aeronautica many years ago. I had a friend that was just really into that and really thought that it was a really cool concept. I never played much of it, but definitely has some perks here. Now, the interesting thing here is that it's like on epic scale, which is, again, they used to have kind of epic scale little combats. I have a few little Eldar ships that are about that size. But yeah, I don't know if I ever play this or pick it up, but it's definitely kind of an interesting little product. Okay, so here's the biggest reason I wanted to make this video. Warhammer Underworlds Beastgrave. Now, I talked about this at the my video on the UK Open Day. The biggest thing here is, of course, we all knew, look at this gorgeous little board. Looks really nice. But the biggest thing is the contents of this box. So the first little warband is Beasts of Chaos. This was expected. Beautiful Bestigor model over here, and a couple Ungors. These are really nice. I think they have a lot of character. I could definitely, whether or not you use this little teeny unit in the game of AOS, you could definitely use this guy as like a unit champion. The Bray Shaman is terrific. I really think that's a nice one. And that's really cool, because I have a couple older metal Bray Shamans, but they really only have like one sculpt for Shamans, and they're the type of thing that you probably want more than one in your army, so having a unique sculpt for the second is beautiful. And this little Ungor with a little arrow in his mouth. So fierce, this one. Just really a beautiful little warband. I'm really excited to get those guys out and playing them against Mrs. Hooves. She'll probably kick my butt as usual. So the biggest thing here, and this is the primary reason why I want to make this video, these Kurnothi or Kurnothi or something, very similar to kind of Kurnoth hunters in in AOS in terms of its name, and I found that very interesting. Now, the biggest thing here, obviously, there's that little lion that they previewed at, I think, Adepticon. It is an Elvish warband, and it very much is similar to like a War Dancer aesthetic. Now, the centaur here, we all kind of expected that. I think that was something that everyone knew it was going to be some sort of Elvish centaur. Very cool. Beautiful little pose. These other guys, I was not expecting. They're like little half-good beastmen, which are just remarkable. And the one thing I talked a little bit about Beastgrave before, and this is kind of my tinfoil hat during the AOS kind of open day, was that this season I think you're going to see things that are absolutely bizarre. Potential things that might not have any connection to an existing army or might be a sign of things to come. Now, I'd almost be very surprised if they build this out into its own faction. But just the fact that they have this bizarre warband that doesn't correspond to anything else, and it's a completely different aesthetic in many regards, I think that's pretty interesting. You can think of in the second season of Underworlds, maybe like Molog's Mob, but we've seen Stone Trolls. It's just a kind of a new take on it. And obviously those little weird creatures are kind of, based upon squigs. Again, something that a little strange, but we've seen something like it before. This, I'm really quite surprised by. I think it's pretty interesting. And I think, whether or not you like Warhammer Underworlds, Beastgrave, I think, was just going to be a terrific new season. The fact that this exists just makes me wonder about what else will exist, and whether or not they actually do build up on these, or if they're just going to be kind of much like Warcry, where you see these weird new Chaos War bands that each represent the realms. If we're just going to see brand new creatures and brand new aesthetics being rolled out, why not? That'd be terrific. So I'm super excited by that. And this little artwork here, little Beastman. Give me a break. Both of these have hooves, so I'm super thrilled by that. And then we have this little Blood Bowl Lizardmen team, called Guacamole. I love how Lizardmen names are always kind of tongue-in-cheek. There's several in their line that are just kind of obviously a play on words and names. Not interesting. I'm not really sure what to make of these. Obviously they're kind of a Blood Bowl aesthetic, so they're not quite, what we might see eventually in AOS. These little poses are pretty cute for the little guys. They're just so adorable that, these guys are like the Warhammer version of like Murlocs, right? They're just hilarious. So, anyway. And then basically, I'll quickly go over these board games just very quickly, and then we'll see if there's anything on 40K on Saturday that's worth talking about. So these were board games that were, revealed, months ago. I can't remember exactly what event it was at the time, but we knew these were coming out. And I think what's mostly interesting here to me, just personally as kind of a collector, is the reuse of models. So you can see the board here. Looks interesting. I don't have a clue what's going on really here. So who knows? But these are basically two different Underworlds war bands that have been combined into a single release. Interesting. I don't think I've really seen too much of like a direct product line being duplicated in that way. There's obviously models from the traditional GW model line that do get incorporated elsewhere into other games. For example, they reference here Gore Chosen. Gore Chosen was a game. All the models in that were standard GW models. Nothing unique there, except they're packaged together. Now, these were only available through Warhammer Underworld, so it's interesting that it copies over into a different game. The same is going on here with Combat Arena. Again, this is kind of a take on like a 40K version of Gore Chosen. I don't know if this is GW trolling Tom or not, but kind of interesting that they talked about how much Gore Chosen was pretty cool. But you got these 5 unique sculpts. Now some of these, I can't tell if these are actually fully unique. I think they are. I think they're advertised as being unique. Obviously, we've seen similar of these models elsewhere in terms of a similar aesthetic. There's a model very much like this in like the Inquisitor line. Looks very much like a Magnus for Genestealer Cults, but it's clearly an Imperial character of some sort, or so it looks. And this the kind of Rogue Trader character, obviously, was kind of channeling kind of the aesthetic from, well, Rogue Trader. But I don't think they've been released elsewhere. The biggest thing for me is that, again, these 5 characters are going to be duplicated in Blackstone Escalation, which I think is a pretty, again, just an interesting choice. I don't think I've ever quite seen that. And then we have another Warhammer Underworlds box set, and I don't quite get this. I don't know why this is separated elsewhere. You get the sense that this is more of a widespread release. It'll be available in Barnes & Nobles and other bookstores that maybe traditional Warhammer Underworlds isn't, but I don't know why one would be restricted and one isn't. And I just don't really get the product here. You got... Again, these Night Haunt figures are standard, and I'm not sure about this what's that? Chamber of Stormcast. You know what I'm talking about. These 2 poses are very much like the original Stormcast from Underworlds. This is completely different, but they are unique sculpts because they weren't from this chamber. But they look very similar. But just interesting. I've never quite seen that duplication before. So we'll see if anything else comes out on Saturday that's worth talking about. But especially that new warband with the beasts, I think that is just absolutely phenomenal. Really excited to see this type of release from them. Super excited to get some new Beasts of Chaos models. I mean, keep in mind, when the Beasts were re-released with their own book, I don't think they received anything new. They were kind of old, repackaged sculpts and such. So they got basically endless spells, and that's about it. So this is the first time that, again, we've seen kind of like AOS-driven models, which I particularly like. And again, yeah, this is just phenomenal. Thanks for watching.